I'm Alicia. I'm the Senior Event Content Manager for Ecommerce Expo and Technology for Marketing. We're here with another episode where we have a little chat with our speakers that are going to be speaking at the show on the 23rd and 24th of September this year. I'm very, very lucky because I'm joined by Michael, who's going to introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia. I'm quite excited to be here. My name is Michael. I currently work as an AI governance specialist with a leading automobile in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover. Prior to that, I'd worked in data management, data quality. My background is in data science as well. So I've been in this data route for quite some time. But one interesting fact is I didn't start my journey in tech. So I initially was a STEM teacher, so you might want to know that. And then I transitioned into what I currently do. Yeah, I'm quite excited to have this chat and looking forward to our chat.
Amazing. Cool. So, um, when you say trusted AI starts with better data, and I know your kind of session at Expo is kind of focused around that, what does that mean in kind of like plain English terms? How would you explain it?
Yeah, trust is a big word. And in I would try to come from what gets into AI. So you hear the word inputs, and it means a number of things, but one core thing it does mean is the data. So, uh, and we've had this a number of times, rubbish in, rubbish out. So the data that gets into the system, because the system, the AI, it's a social technical system. So the input is quite key because you need to be sure that the data is of high quality. It can be it has an owner, it can be traced, the source is known. All of these are key component that makes a data trusted. And the final point on that is that whenever things go bad, we should be able to hold someone accountable because we know where the data came from. So those are a number of things that makes up a trusted data. There are more, but I think these are key in my
Mm.
view. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this ties to the next question a little bit around what should kind of e-commerce teams check before using AI in kind of personalization, search, customer service, all that kind of stuff. What should they be looking at?
Yeah, that's another good question. I'll attempt to answer it from the point of following up on what I said earlier. So, for example, an AI system, a personalized AI system, a chatbot system. It could be a customer chatbot, it could be any other chatbot helping, or even a recommendation system, which is an AI that kind of understand the behavior of the customer and then suggest the best product for them. So the first question to ask is when something go wrong, um, can we put off the power button? Can we stop the AI from going to be able to deal with the situation? And also, and this is because things will go wrong. Things always go wrong. The real world is always different from what you model in the lab, from what you're trying to build. So that's why for any AI governance program, uh, building products, you need to have an incident management process so that you learn from that. So what you need to have in place is who is accountable, who understand who owns the data, where is the data lineage, and these are important. Data lineage is basically saying where does this data come from, how has it been transformed within the process, and also all of those things that go across the life cycle of the AI system, the audit trail. Those are things that you want to fall back to, which records decisions that were made. For example, we make sure we test this AI system, a recommendation system across our customer, not just the ones that give review, not just the one that came from a certain demographic because they are the high-paying customer, but all across the customer. Then you have a robust uh, conclusion because you've tested it away. So just to go back to your question, I'm too excited about this, but I don't want to be derailed. Uh, so yeah, so you want to be sure that you have an accountability structure, which I talked about. There's someone in place. You also want to have an audit trail. You want to make sure you're keeping log of the decisions you're making throughout when building the AI system. And then you want to also make sure you are in the incident management process. You're not hitting yourself too hard because AI system, the real world is messy. And whenever sometimes you learn to test AI better by what has happened or what will happen. So, but being proactive about it and being transparent about it is quite key. So your customers know that they are dealing with an AI system. There's a disclosure and there's possibility of it for you getting things wrong. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So obviously we probably have a lot of kind of e-commerce brands, people that work within the space of AI within marketing or e-commerce watching this today. What what does bad data actually look like inside of an e-commerce business? So if you explain something now, they're watching this, what would make them go, "Oh my gosh, that's me. My data is exactly like that. I need to sort it out." What does that actually look like?
Yeah, I'll give some examples. One of those is duplicate customer records, and as that might be something you might have heard a lot, but I realized that because a customer does not have a true source of true source, they call it source of truth. You find out that there's no proactiveness in terms of how the e-commerce provider or business is able to respond to their customer need. Because when you have data that you can't trust, in sense that you have duplicate data, you're not sure what a Michael here means. It's the same Michael who bought a product yesterday. So there's probably going to be a slow time, and your competitors are doing that. So your competitors would definitely maximizing the use of their AI by making sure they have a good foundation of data. So you want to have good quality data quality program in place to make sure at least duplicate data are sorted out. You're also making sure you have a unique record, which is kind of related to what I said earlier, but also it's well formatted and all those basic dimensions that underlines data quality. You have also an issue management process in place. So a customer says, well, I've updated my address, and then you get to deliver a product with a wrong address, then obviously you're going to lose the customer trust. So being able to have a good quality data quality program in place, being able to also have a good issue management process in place where you are resolving issue and making sure your data is also being updated to reflect that, kind of give you a robust data foundation to be able to proactively use data in a very positive way. And just to also add this, because agentic AI is going to, obviously, that's one of the new kid in the block, but it feeds on data. So if your data is not, for example, unstructured data needs to be tagged, structured data needs to be properly being high quality. So all of this needs to be in place to be able to use agent, because if not, then your agents are going to make a mess, and they are going to, because they are more autonomous, and then it's much more difficult to manage the incidents when agents have done the harm. Yeah.
Yeah. And my next question was going to be about like what's the biggest risk around that. But it sounds, I think you gave me a few examples where it's like, for example, the a product being delivered to the wrong address, or like you say, agents really messing situations up with the customer. Is there any other risks that um like people within e-commerce or marketing should be really aware of at the moment?
Yeah, I think one of those that quickly jump is obviously all of this fits into your reputational risk and your financial risk, because that's where it really matters, the bottom line. So a customer is not happy, they're going to give a bad review, and then that goes to Trustpilot, and then Trustpilot, obviously, someone sees it and then they think, oh, I'm not going to go for that e-commerce. Probably there's something fishy. I bought things in the past through e-commerce where you reach out to obviously the supposedly contacts, but it doesn't go to, no one respond to it, and underlining it is a data issue. either probably they have a lot of info, response like that coming, and they don't have a single source of truth. So they are not easy. It's not easily to they can't they are not on top of that because they are not smart. The data is not in a good shape, and then they can automate it. So most companies want to use AI, but the first problem is data. So and data risk, AI, and all of this risk fits into your reputation risk eventually affect your bottom line. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And obviously the big thing at the moment is, well, it has been for quite a long time now, is the EU AI Act. You're probably very in tune with what's going on there. So what does the EU AI Act mean in practice for UK e-commerce and marketing teams?
Yeah, that's a big
It
question.
is a big question.
So if you're listening and you sell to the EU customers, you are in scope, basically, because you operate in this market. So obviously, just a bit of background. It's a regulation that has been implemented in phases. So we've had a lot of phases that gone ahead. Uh, um, but the more important one is the transparency one, which I think is more closer to those in marketing because your marketing content, either you're kind of doing a video, generating a video, and you're using an AI model, which can be any of those ones, or you're generating marketing comms and all of this that the customer get to see. One of the obligation of the EU Act is that you need to disclose that this is an AI. You need to be able to make the customer or the reader or anyone engaging with this content have an idea that this is generated by AI, which is a transparency obligation. That's Article 50. So you have other across uh, but that's the most general one that I think most people need to be thinking about. So it says obviously disclose that you're using AI, but there are other ones around it. Because if you do a recommendation system, for example, where in this case you build an AI which recommends different products to different people, which most people use at the moment. So if you've done that and there's a discrimination against someone in some sense, maybe based on their uh, demography or one of those special category people, or you've dealt with a vulnerable group, maybe a minor or someone. So they obviously that is being just those are the stakeholders that the EU Act is concerned about. So the EU Act is focused on protecting the fundamental right of stakeholders, their safety and their health. And the stakeholders are people who cannot influence things. So they are the end user, the customer, and your employee in some instance. So uh, the EU Act also have an obligation for high risk, which is the one I'm trying to describe lately. So you need to be able to meet some requirements. Quite a lot of that. About 90% of the EU Act is focused on the high risk. The limited, the limited risk, which is the transparency obligation I talked about, disclosing that you're using an AI is what all marketers need to be aware of, is all e-commerce uh, provider needs to be aware of. But the high risk one will be implemented this year. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, oh, I sell to the EU customers, I sell my product across EU, then you should be thinking of how to implement, how to at least start thinking of these, making sure all your systems within your organization is being cataloged, you're understanding where, I mean, just you're discovering your AI environment so you can catalog them at least and create an inventory and then understand which is high, which is limited, and then you can prioritize the resource you have. Sorry, that took me a long time, so it shows I'm quite passionate about that. But yeah, I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you saying, Michael, that I guess if say, for example, if I received an email where I was recommended, I don't know, a surfboard or something like that, it would have to tell me within it that they've used AI to find that recommendation based off the data they've collected on me. That they have to make that clear to me.
Yeah, so uh yeah, that's an example, but an example that I've not probably articulated properly. But maybe a simple way to say that is a chatbot, which I think we're going to the chatbot thing now again, or an ad. So there's an ad, and these
Hmm.
days there are fancy ads with Nano Banana and chat GPT image generation. You can create a whole video about content, right? One of the obligations is that you need to be able to make sure people are aware that that is generated by AI,
Yeah.
because that can be seen as deepfake, in some sense. So, or maybe supposedly a character is developed with one of those image or video generation model, and then you're using it. You should be able to disclose in some certain that this is AI, and then they should see it that way, because then they are aware. And I think from what I've observed, people are more confident and trust, which is the key word. That people can trust you when you are transparent enough. Then going to your question on recommendation. So I think if people feel that they are discriminated against in some sense, and maybe a wrong product was sent to them, and then maybe someone who shouldn't have a product, for example, to certain, and then they got certain product, is something that they can also query for and say, well, I don't know why I keep getting this in my fields. So could you explain further? So, well, I'm not sure if the EU is going to hold you responsible, except it has impact on their fundamental rights, safety, and health. And the extreme cases we can think of, maybe not at the moment on the spot, but there are definitely cases like that. And that comes with some sanction that you have to, but the limited is not necessarily coming with some penalty of some sense, but the high risk case comes with some penalty. Failure to do that, you're supposed to sort of pay some penalty because you find
Yeah.
you've broken one of those regulations basically.
And I think I remember reading somewhere that that fee penalty is rather high as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
They're cracking
yeah,
down on it quite heavily.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think it has a figure, 3.5 of your annual output. I'm not sure, but yeah, I need to double check that. So it's quite
yeah,
high. It's quite high.
yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so what's one AI red flag that would make you kind of pause a project that you'd be like, no, like you say, I said earlier, you need that button that says like stop AI. What would be a red flag for you in order for you to do that?
I think not asking the right question about whether do we need an AI to do this. There are a lot of
Hmm.
things we don't need an AI for. So many things just simply need some automation, maybe not even an automation. So the purpose of the AI should be defined clearly. This is why we're using AI, because we think AI will do this better than this. So being able to articulate that first question of why are you using an AI for this will help. So when I'm in a project and the why is not clear, it's just about, oh, let's get this done. And I'm sure you must have seen in the news, 75% of CEO, according to statistic, I think in one of the big four, says that AI has been invested in, but there's no value. There's no value and there's no improvement in cost, even though people want to get into the train or get into the bandwagon of AI. So I think not asking the why, that gives you that question helps you to have a cost based cost and benefit analysis and be able to ascertain with the value that AI will bring. So if I'm part of any projects and that question of why is no answer, then that's a red flag already.
Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be a bit of strategy behind the use of it. Yeah. Um, so final question of these kind of slightly in-depth more in-depth questions, Michael. So why should e-commerce leaders come to your session at Ecommerce Expo where you're talking about trusted AI starts with better data?
Yeah, I think Well, I probably will give you a cup of coffee, but that's not why you should come. Yeah, so yeah, so I'm joking. Yeah, I think you will leave my session with a checklist of what of how to have a better and more value-based AI conversation in your next board meeting or in your next team meeting. Uh, and the real example is that we're already seeing indications that it has a lot of risk, but there are a lot of benefits as well. So, and not being able to understand and mitigate this risk, govern it properly, means you're going to be on the wrong side of the law. Uh, Also, you're going to leave knowing what question to ask the vendors because yeah, we listen to vendors come to pitch different tools and they tell you can do uh, everything, but you leaving the session knowing the right question to ask the vendor, and that's quite key because then you know how to sieve out the fake or what sieve out the rubbles from the real thing. But also you're beginning to think of how to maybe build an AI system internally or purchase an AI system from a third party, having responsible AI uh, as part of your foundation or best ethical principles are put in place. So that's a kind of a long one, but I guess yeah, I've been able to convince you with a little summary.
Yeah, oh my gosh, absolutely. I think it's going to be so relevant when we get to September this year. It's going to be a big topic all around kind of responsibility and all that jazz. So I'm going to move now into our lovely quick fire questions, Michael. So, what's one work habit you're trying to break? If you have any, you might not have any.
Yeah, replying to the second message lands into my just replying to message quickly. And I've been recently reading a book on how to live and not worry by yeah, it's one of those classical books. So it talks about just dealing with things as they happen. If you don't have the whole information, make sure you put it somewhere else, and just so that you don't get to be thinking about it and worrying about it. So that's an habit I'm yeah trying
Love
to
that.
break.
Nice. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Do the boring stuff. And this was given to me by a mentor after just graduating. I had so that my in my undergraduate days I did economics, which is quite off what I do now. And then the person told me go and learn Python and learn SQL, which is a programming language, and it's quite boring, but do the boring stuff, and then find a way of making it exciting.
Hmm. Nice. And also, I always think with that kind of stuff, being able to communicate it as well, that's quite
Hmm.
an art form, I feel like. And I feel like you do that well. So, next question, what's one lesson you've learnt the hard way?
Yeah, this is interesting. So, a polished deck doesn't fix a bad decision.
Hmm.
Um, so making the right decision sometimes the polished deck is not usually the answer most time, basically. So it's about making sure you're making the right decision, but finding the right solution for the right problem.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
love
yeah,
that. Yeah, definitely. I've often done that. I've made a really nice deck, and then in my heart, deep down, I know that I'm not creating the deck for the right thing. So yeah, I totally agree with that one. Such a good one. Um, what's a meeting red flag for you?
yeah, that's a good one. No agenda.
Yeah, yeah, love that. Nice and simple. Um, inbox zero. So is that you sorted, you're all organized in your inbox, or are you more kind of inbox chaos?
Yeah, I think mine's a bit in the middle, curated chaos.
Nice. Early bird or night owl?
Wow. I'm in the middle. I sleep early, and sometimes I work into the night, it depends. But
Hmm.
what drives me is if I have something to do, I want to finish it as much as I can. So, but generally, I try to sleep early these days, so I can wake up early. But I
Nice.
leave it that way, somewhere in between.
We're all on a journey. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Coffee, tea, or neither?
Wow. Neither. I think it's based on my
Neither.
mood. I do mocha, I do
Okay.
coffee, I do chai, I do tea. My recent go-to, my recent go-to is chai latte. So
Nice.
if you like chai latte, then that's me. So I think neither, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely went through a chai phase for sure. And last question, what's one business phrase you wish people would stop using?
Hmm, good question. Yeah, I think yeah. Well, I think trustworthy AI.
Mm-hmm.
Another one for that is people use a lot of trustworthy AI,
Mm,
but trust has been, yeah, overused without knowing what that really means. So I believe
mm,
that trust need to be, there's two extremes to this. There's trust, there's trustworthiness. So trust is obviously what the AI system can do. Trustworthiness is, do the people using it really trust it? And then in the middle is somewhere in the middle is where I think we need to all stay, and that's when you've got an assurance for the AI system. So then that is like you end the trust. So sorry, it's a bit, I'm using a lot of concept, but one thing I'm trying to say is that people use trustworthiness, but there's nothing like trustworthiness if there's no assurance of an AI system. You need to be able to validate what an AI system vendor is saying by third-party independent view, that you've tested it through across all the various dimensions that interest uh, those are of interest in the system, and then before we can establish trust. And there's nothing like just trust or trustworthiness except just third party assurance. So anyway, I'll stop there.
that's a great little tip. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Michael. For everyone watching, Michael is going to be speaking on the 23rd of September, so day one of Ecommerce Expo, at currently 11:10 to 11:35, so a morning session. And as I say, the session's called Trusted AI Starts with Better Data. So thank you so much, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. And thank you so much. We'll see you at the
Yeah,
event.
looking forward to see you. Bye.